Hey there, it's Julie Hutchison here from Think, Be, Do Leadership. And today we are talking about, well, I've entitled it, Who's the Daddy? How Parent Leadership is going to ruin the business that you're in. But it doesn't have to be daddies, it could be mummies, whoever, totally fine with all of that. So what are we talking about? Well, if you are having to work your backside off and other people in the team you don't feel are actually stepping up, and you wish that you could just delegate and things would happen and it's not, then what I'm talking about is that potentially if you are running parent leadership, then you may be shooting yourself in the foot. And that's what I want to talk about today, because when it comes to being a leader, a lot of technical execs often feel like they need to tell people what to do. And instead of delegating and trusting, they end up having this cycle of micromanaging and over parenting, let's say, their teams. And what that means is that they are busy, they cannot trust people to get on with things, or they don't trust people to get on with things, and that means that they have to do it, they have to check, they have to be there, they cannot go on holiday, they cannot chill out. And so I want to talk about what we need to do about that and what the problem is. So if that's you, or you know somebody who might be like that, then please do listen on. And don't forget, if you are listening to this live, please say hello. And if you're listening on the replay, just press hashtag replay before your comments and we will check them out. And remember that we have a newsletter, Leading in Business. Then we need you to sign up to that as well, so you can get the updates, not just the lives, but the actual newsletters that come out every week. So where are we? Let's talk about this. Assuming the parent role as a leader, and you might think, no, I don't, I never do that. But what are we talking about? Well, if we feel obligated to check and do and make sure that people are being directed into what they should be doing, we are not allowing people to step up. And of course, if they don't step up, then we're still the ones that are parenting them. We are having to check. And so what that means is that you're fed up, you're doing all too much, you don't want to be doing that. But the thing is, neither do they, because they don't get the opportunity to step up, they don't get the opportunity to be trusted. They feel like you just tell them what to do and they're just a minion doing the thing, whatever the thing is. And of course then they're like, oh, I don't like this. But also when they're not trusted, then you don't tell them information, or you don't give them all of the whole jigsaw puzzle. They can't make good decisions in the business. They can't be effective, and they're fed up, and they don't always want to be there. Now, the thing is, years ago, and this is what started me thinking about this actually, I was watching, there was an article the other day, and it was saying that people used to stay in jobs for 10, 20, 30 years. And I was in the police for 16 years, not 30. But when I joined, so many people were there for life, or life as in the 30 years, and they would retire. And people stayed, and people don't do that anymore. People seem to be maybe 4 years or something like that. I think the article was talking about leaving after 4 years. And I think there's something to do with this parent leadership, because years ago, if you're old enough like me, you may remember, but before, people would feel like it's a job for life. I'm lucky to have my job and I'm loyal to the company that I work for. But the problem is if we act like parents to those people, and we maybe don't treat them so well, we don't communicate well with them, we just use them as a resource, then okay, then back then people weren't so mobile, people couldn't use the internet, people couldn't work from home. Whereas now what's happening is people are suddenly thinking, hang on a second, I don't want to be treated like a kid. I don't want to be kept in the dark and, what do they say, fed on poop and like a mushroom, kept in the dark, and not communicated with. And so they know now that there's a different world. So years ago, we were loyal, we felt like we were obliged, and the company treated us like that we were lucky to be there, and that we owed them. Well, the thing is, it's not like that. It's an exchange of value, isn't it? We have something that our companies that we work with, not for, let's say, they want, and we want the cash reward, let's say. And so now, because of the mobility and the opportunity and the fact that we can work anywhere we want to work, I believe that people are saying, no, I'm not interested in that. I don't want to play that game. And so what happens is that if we don't change the way we are leading, and we carry on being parent leaders, what happens is that people just say, no, thank you very much, and I'm going to opt out, and they move. So they move after 2 years, after 3 years, or whatever it might be, because if they're treated like we're in charge of them, like their kids, it doesn't wash anymore. They don't want that. And also, we're much more in touch with our feelings now. So we're like, hang on a second, I don't like feeling like this. My emotional bank account has been drained. I don't like it, and I'm not going to stay. So if they don't feel like they belong, or they don't feel respected, and they don't feel nurtured, again, they're going to choose to go. Now, there's probably a few of you that are sitting there saying, hang on a second, what about us? It's not them, they're acting as kids. It's not us being parents, it's them acting as kids. And I get that some people will turn up in what we call child mode and not want to take responsibility. But we're talking to the leaders here today, so that's a whole nother issue. What we're talking about is how we don't want to start that. We don't want to start people turning up in child ego state, being fed a daily ration of what to do. We want people to be adults, and the only way we can do that is to treat them like adults. Okay, so they're not going to hang around if we don't do this, because they know there's a better world out there somewhere. Okay, so they're not going to hang around for that carriage clock of 30 years when they get their handshake and say, well done for being here all that time. That's not what's going to happen. They're going to move. Okay, so what do we need to understand about that? Well, think about it. If you're going to lose people after 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, instead of them staying for 30, there are some benefits of movement, yes, but you're going to have to pay recruitment costs. You're going to have to retrain people. So it's expensive, and it creates a lack of productivity, because you're trying to keep starting all over again. Excuse me. So what do we need to do? We need to create an adult-to-adult relationship. We need to treat people slightly differently. Well, maybe in some circumstances very differently. And I think there's 4 things that we can just do that immediately change the way we are dealing with people. And that's to think about this: fair, honest, open, clear. Really simple concepts, and you probably say, I'm doing all of those, and hopefully you are. But what I want you to do is ask yourself, are you really doing these things? So let's just talk through the things I'm talking about, because this is how you create adult-to-adult relationships. First of all, we want to be fair with people, so a fair wage for a fair job. Do you remember when we used to, and I remember this myself, used to stay longer hours, we used to work overtime and be expected to pay, but expected to stay, sorry, and not necessarily be paid for it. We were told to do the job, and we got on with it. And I was glad of that. And don't get me wrong, I think that we should do a fair job for a fair wage. But I think what we need to make sure is that we're not looking down on people and using people and feeling like they are just minions that we are being used. And I'm sure you're not one of those people, but there are many businesses where that's how people do feel. And when we're not fair, then we end up with passive aggressiveness. We end up with people being just present and presenteeism, and therefore we're actually creating conflict and negative feelings, and therefore we're ending up, people are going to start to think, I don't want to be here, or if they do want to be here, they're here for the money, and therefore they're going to wait until they get a better job, and then they're going to leave. And if they don't leave, they're probably going to be unproductive. So therefore, worst of both worlds, let's say. So the first thing is are we looking at a value exchange? Do we respect the value that people are bringing to us? And do we tell them about that? Do we make them feel that actually this is not I'm the boss and you're the minion? Is this a value exchange for the amazing work that those people are doing? Okay, ask yourself that question. And you may say, totally it is, Julie, and I'll be good with that one. Then open. I think I was going to do honest first, but never mind, we'll do open. Open, what do I mean by that? Well, when I was a police officer, I don't know how many times people would say, oh, nobody ever tells us anything. And they didn't know about things sometimes. I'm being really frustrated, because if you don't communicate with people what your intentions are, or where you're trying to get to, or what you're trying to achieve, then the thing is, people will run to their own agenda. And when they run to their own agenda, you might not like that agenda. They do a good job, but it's in their own sweet way, let's say, and for their own sweet agenda. And therefore, we're frustrated. And then they're frustrated because it isn't what you want. So we need to be open with people, because then they're not going to get frustrated and feel like you just kept them in the dark all the time and you didn't respect the fact that their time's precious as much as your time's precious. And so if they don't know what you want, they're going to just do their own thing. So being open with people and being able to communicate well is really, really, really important. Okay, honest. That sounds pretty obvious, doesn't it? Don't lie. Well, I kind of mean it in a slightly different way. Well, please don't lie. But what I mean is quite often, sometimes we, as leaders, we try to protect people, or we use the excuse we're trying to protect people. There's a need to know basis. I don't really need to know that, or they don't really need to know that. And so what happens is that we kind of give people half stories, or we're not honest about what's happening, or we're not honest about how we feel about things, and so we don't deal with things. And so when I'm talking about honest, I think we need to give people the respect that they deserve for being honest. And like when you go to court, it's like, will you tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yeah. And I think that's where I'm coming from. It's like trying to be as fully honest as we possibly can, so that people, they put their big girl and boy pants on, and they know that if you're honest, they might find something that they don't like, and you might tell them things that are difficult. But when we're honest with that, we're treating people as adults. Make sense? Okay, good. And the last one is clear. Clarity. The lack of clarity for people is going to make them stop and wait for your order or your direction. Okay, and this is one of the things that we work on quite a lot in our leaders programs, because what happens is that people are skilled and we think they're going to be good at the job, but this lack of clarity of where we're going to and what you're looking for means that you aren't giving them the direction that they need. And when people are confused, well, they stop and they wait for your next instruction. And so what you're doing is you're creating, a rod for your own back for a start, because that person can only sit and wait. They have to wait for your instruction, which means they can't make good decisions in the business. So clarity of the vision that you have, clarity of what it is you're trying to create, I always say what the chocolate cake looks like at the end, what the product looks like at the end, or how you want it to be done. But that clarity means that they can make good decisions on, if that's what we're looking for, how can I make that happen? And so they are grown up enough, and because they're capable, but if they don't have the clarity, they cannot make the decisions. And so we're holding them back. We're holding them back like kids. So we need to give them the tools, the confidence, and the knowledge to do the best job that they can. Does that make sense? Good. Okay, so when we do those things, we're fair, we're open, we're honest and clear, we are creating a relationship that's equal. Nobody feels hard done by. Everybody feels that it may not be what we want, but it's fair, and it's all out there in the open, and I'm being treated as an adult. And when that happens, then that person's going to step up, because when you're treated like an adult, you act like an adult. Yeah, when you're treated like a kid, you act like a kid. And I've seen it in so many organizations, and it ends up leading to conflict when we do not treat people as adults, because they're going to get fed up. They're going to feel bad. They're going to either argue amongst themselves, or they're going to argue with you, or they're going to feel bad generally. So when we treat people like adults, they step up, they make good decisions in your business, they make good decisions for the business, and therefore you can trust them to do what needs to be done. And so we don't need to parent them. We can have that adult to adult conversation. We trust them to do the thing they need to do. So I want you to think about, do you parent or do you lead? Are you giving your team the tools, the confidence, and the clarity to be able to step up? Are you allowing them to make good decisions in your business, or are you holding them back? Okay, I said I was going to be 15 minutes and I've got 20 seconds left, so that's good. So if you found this useful today, then let me know, pop a comment in there. And if you want to find out more, then we're doing a newsletter on this subject this week as well. So that will be going out today. So do sign up for the newsletter. And if you would like to know how you can improve your leadership style, improve your communication and your team performance in the business that you're in, then give me a shout and I'll be very happy to talk about how you can join one of our programs. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, and I will speak to you next week. Bye-bye.